And when I turned around, I just saw the lights. I mean, there was not even police cars, they were really black cars with lights. My name is Nives Cardoni, born in East Switzerland with Italian roots. The whole escort business started when I was about 17 years old. My best friend, she was 3 years older than me, she was escorting. And I was in college and worked at a club on the weekends. Now at the club there was a lot of interesting clients for her target clientele. And I hooked her up a few times so she could make some good money. And after a few successful hookups, she gave me some money and said, you earned that cut, because you know, they were great introductions. So with time, more girls wanted to get hookups, and I had to like somehow figure out a plan so I have for everyone the same deal. So we came to the conclusion we're gonna do a 60-40 cut, 60% for the girls, 40% for me. The prices and the services will be discussed up front as well. The payment had to be done up front. And with that, it was a great extra money for me to make during college, and yeah, it kind of came out really successful for me. Prostitution is legal in Switzerland. There are several brothels, escorts, clubs, sauna clubs, or even private residences where girls can see their clients. There's a lot of rules when it comes to permission. To get the permission or the permit to work, you have to actually work together with the police. As a female or owner of a club, you have to pay taxes, and there's a lot of rules to it that you definitely have to go by. A sauna club is more like a spa where you can meet girls, and there are rooms where you can go there, but you will see a lot of other clientele. And there's smaller brothels like this one as well. This club is only, it's pretty small, it's not a lot of girls, and you will not run into other clients, so it's more discreet. And that's always up to the client if he wants a more discreet situation or if he really doesn't care. I just learned the business with experience. Like the more you work with the girls, with the clients, you just figure out what's the best way, how does it work out. And between them, you always have to be fair to the girls, and as well very discreet with the clients. And as long as you do that, your business will be definitely successful. I met an old school rapper at a concert here in Switzerland, and we actually started dating. So he invited me to New York. And the first time I see New York, I absolutely fell in love, and I knew this is the place where I wanted to be, where I wanted to be successful and just have the best years in my life. I finished college, and 6 months later of my first visit of New York, I just packed my bags and I went to New York. I mean, I didn't have a lot of money saved because of course I had a lot of bills to pay over here, and I had no fear. I just had a goal and I wanted to make money, and I didn't really know how, but I just know I wanted to be rich and have a good life and just taste the finer things in life. I went to New York with my friend that was escorting as well. Her boyfriend at the time was a jewelry watch dealer, so he had a hookup for us in the Diamond District, an apartment where we could live in. And you know, as you know, in New York, it's hard to get an apartment right away, especially Manhattan. So this situation was perfect since it was the Diamond District. There was just a rent that you pay cash. It's supposed to be it used to be an office. We made it to an apartment. We renovated a little bit, and the rent was always paid in cash. Nobody really knew that I even lived there, because it was in the penthouse floor, and the rest of the floors was all offices where they were buying and selling gold, watches, jewelry. So it was a perfect spot. My first celebrity party was in 2008 in New York. That was Puff's birthday party. It was at Mansion in New York. Absolute great party, great atmosphere. Everybody that was somebody was there, for sure. The way, he's famous for throwing good parties, so definitely was a nice party. And before that, I was at after parties in Switzerland. Like there was Beyonce Jay-Z party that I was, Busta Rhymes and Paris Hilton party, Method Man, Rap Man, like all those parties there. I definitely was attending them before that already. I went to New York City with my best friend, the one that was escorting in Switzerland. She wanted to start a new life as well. And I lived for her, and her boyfriend kind of hooked us up with that apartment on 47th Street. I wanted to do it on my own. Even I had a boyfriend at the time that I was staying in New York. I wanted to have my own place. I did not want to depend on nobody. When I decided to get back into the escort business in the States, I met a girl through a mutual friend. She was already doing the escort business in the States, and she explained to me pretty much how it works out in the States. Since it's illegal, there's a lot of things you have to look out for, especially when it comes to advertisement. The girls is a complete different game than in Europe, or let's say in Switzerland. So she teach me a lot of it, and we actually thought about having a partnership together. I mean, the escort business is just a really good money business. It's the first job that actually was out there. So this business will definitely never die. And I'm a very driven person, and I like to make money. I like to be successful. I'm really all about business all the time. And that business is for me something that I can just do. Like, I can go anywhere and just start an escort business, and it will be successful. I know how to get the right girls. I know how to advertise. Again, the clientele, that's really depending where you at, but it's really about networking and what you supply and what can you get to them, what they really want. That girl that I met through the mutual friend, she actually was really good in advertising. So since I had a hookup in Europe to bring girls with a tourist visa to the States, they always had 3 months. We would just have them stay at Airbnb apartments or hotels, and she would do advertisement, and I would bring the girls. And at the same time, I would go out and network pretty much every single day. Every golf tournament, every charity event, all the cigar bars. I really go out there and just talk to people and network, give out the card. And after 9 months, it really paid off. It was a word of mouth. I had some really good clients from Wall Street, politicians, celebrities, just rich businessmen, because my girls were high-end. So as well, the prices were pretty much high-end. And that's the only way I want to do anything. If it's something cheap and I want to take a cut from something cheap, it does not make sense to me. You gotta make real money. So the girls that are mostly, they would make between $800 and $1,000 an hour. I would take half of that, and they would have security, they would have a driver, and everything is set for them. And most of the clients, they already knew. Overnight would be 10 grand. And it really worked out like that, because the girls that would work for me or with me, they were as well students. They would have other jobs. I didn't really want to have girls who just rely on me and wait until I call them to actually get a job. Over the time, I think the most girls ever worked for me were 50 girls plus. It was all over. It was pretty much in 4 continents. I had really good clientele because it was really a word of mouth. Not just that I had really beautiful girls, they were smart. You can actually have a conversation with them. You can actually take them out and spend time with them. And those are the girls that really will make a lot of money, and are independent. You know, they will get their money. We always split. It was never an issue. I never had an issue with a girl, pretty much. And everybody was happy. Discretion is number 1. As well, the girls need to know that, as well as the guys. And money was always up front. Services were always discussed up front, so there was never misunderstanding. And I was very on point when it comes to managing that. I mean, I was pretty much up from 12 noon until 6 a.m. Always would take calls and organize everything. But there is always a request for party favors, for drugs, for coke, especially with those high-end clients who like to party in New York. And I would have somebody that would just go there and supply that, since I'm not really, I don't really have a knowledge about all of that. And so with time, I couldn't rely on them anymore. It would just be I would have a great client at 4 or 5 a.m. And then the guy wouldn't pick up the phone. Now the girl is only making 1 hour instead of 10 or a day, so everybody would lose money. Unfortunately, I decided to just do it on my own. So I had some good connections, and I would just go and supply the drugs myself, like, but you know, small amounts, or even I even give it for free. If you do a few hours with my girls, that is a free gift to you. And I would never mix anything. I would never, like, it was really good quality, so everybody was basically happy. It was never about a money thing with the drugs. My money is the girls, it's the escorting, and that is just extra. But yeah, unfortunately, if you get into that, you know, it can end up pretty bad. My partner in crime was actually a guy I met. He's supposed to have a really good just a new connect for better quality of coke. And when we met, we instantly just clicked. Like, we definitely were like best friends. We became best friends pretty quick. And we decided to partner up since he had a really good clientele and I had a good clientele. I would supply girls to his clients and he would supply drugs to my clients. And then he started to even drive the girls. And really quick, we actually fell in love, and yeah, it was a partnership and a relationship, which sometimes can get some scratches, especially when you work together. But we worked it out really well, and we definitely made some good money. The girl that I actually started the partnership with, she kind of went on a different lane. It was more that she would have girls for Backpage, advertise on Backpage, and have girls that, you know, wasn't really high end, putting them in a hotel. It definitely makes money as well. I just, you know, really want to do it high end. Like, if it's not high end, I don't want to take money from you. If you make like $300-400 an hour, I don't really want to take a cut from you. Especially in the States. Now here in Europe, the prices are different. The rules are different. So here the prices could range in that area. It really depends what you're offering. That's why in this particular brothel, there is regular services, but I have dipped into the S&M world. Now, the S&M clubs are really great because the money is good. There's some interesting people you work with. There's some interesting requests, definitely. But the money is really great. Like, the girls will make a lot of money. The guys would spend a lot of money. And it's a different type of clientele. Like, they will definitely make an appointment and it will show up and spend a lot of money and do whatever they ask to do. So that's something that I definitely see in the future to push for, the S&M world. I was dating a friend or associate of Uncle Paulie that I have met in New York, and he invited me to a party, and Uncle Paulie was there, aka Paul Offord, the head of security of Bad Boy. And he actually met my friend. I took a friend with me, and they just really had eyes for each other. They definitely liked each other. They started talking to each other. I don't know exactly what the relation was afterwards, but we would hang out, all four of us together, and it was always a lot of fun. I mean, he is a fun guy. He's a street guy. He has a lot of street knowledge, basically, and we just clicked from that. But it was a brother-sister relationship. We started hanging out more and just go out because we just had the same way of how we move. He knew that I wanted to do A&R and management in the music industry. I actually did as well an internship at Sony Records, and he introduced me to a lot of people that could just help, or, you know, showed me the ways, or invited me to the right events to network, which was really nice of him. He hooked me up quite a few times. Most girls want to meet celebrities, like, in general, and I just really don't care for celebrities because they're not the ones who are gonna get things moving. It's more the people behind the scenes, and those are the people that I was focused on. If I wanted to meet a celebrity, it had to be definitely about business, because I'm all about business. Some of them, they did some nice favors for me, which I returned in a way of even with the girls, or just hooked them up with whatever they needed or they wanted. I mean, they like to party, they like girls, and I like favors, maybe in the music. So we all met each other's needs in that sense. We were out at a certain night at a poker spot. We would always meet up, and he was pretty messed up and upset. He said some things happened and he needed a new hookup, and if I can introduce him to the guy who gives me the good drugs, you know, because we all like to party sometimes, and I definitely had good quality of drugs. And yeah, he asked me to give him the hookup, which is pretty much impossible. Even for me, how I got the hookup, it was through really tight relations, and I can't give that out. So I told him, really, I can't do that, and he actually left it at that. A few months later, he asked me again, he's like, listen, some things happened, and I need this hookup. I gotta introduce you to some people. Could you please do me this favor? And I said, really not, because I had here and there small amounts that I would give to clients or to girls. It wasn't something that I really want to dip in, and I really don't know too much about it, or even the law, what could really happen to you. So he kept like pushing for it, and he kind of like made me feel bad, because he said, oh, I did so many favors for you, I always hooked you up, I just need you to hook me up one time, like just because he knew my man at that time, and he's like, let me just talk to him. And I said, no, it's just something I can't do, but I just will do it for you one time. I will make that drop off one time. So he introduced me to an older Dominican guy. He had a heavy accent, and we all met at a sushi spot on 76th Street and 3rd Avenue on the Upper East Side, Haru Sushi. We met up there, and we had a really light conversation. We all knew what it was about. I gave him some drugs to try out, and he actually called me back a few hours later and said, this is absolutely amazing, I want to buy 5 kilos. And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not doing no 5 kilos. I wasn't really afraid of the police. I never even thought of it. Since this guy was like my brother, I'm like, okay, we all working good. I was more afraid of getting robbed or something just goes wrong. 5 kilos is a big amount. So we actually settled to a half a kilo. And he said, okay, he's gonna let me know when. So on December 27th, 2017, we actually wanted to meet up at 9 o'clock at the Haru Sushi spot on the Upper East Side. And I packed it up like a Christmas gift, so it doesn't really look obvious, and I don't look obvious either. I don't look like a drug dealer, let's say. And on the Upper East Side, it's really quiet there on top of them. So we met at Haru Sushi. I sat right by the entrance. My back was turned to the window. So the Dominican guy with the accent, he came in and he sat down, and he was kind of a little bit weird. I mean, his hand was shaking. So I'm like, just could you sit down, have a seat, and order something to drink, and just engage in small talk. It was really weird the way he was acting. So when the drinks came, he said a little bit too loud, I got the money. And when he said that, he looked past me outside the window, and when I turned around, I just saw the lights. I mean, there was not even police cars. They were really black cars with lights. So it was the feds. By the time I turned around, the place got raided basically, and they arrested the Dominican guy, and then of course they came to me. They just brought me outside. They read my rights. They put on the handcuffs, and they put me in a car. And then they said, well, now this is the DA, the FBI, the state police, and the NYPD, and you are in deep shit. And you gotta talk now. So where do you live? And so I just made up an address in Harlem just to get some time. And they're like, look, they came up with a lot of pictures of me being outside. There was nothing too much incriminating there to say, because I know how to move. But at the same time, there's probably certain things, girls, when I would pick up money or meet clients or whatever. It wasn't too nice, but they knew exactly where I was living. They knew everything about me. So they said, now we're gonna go to your apartment. Who is in there? Which there was my boyfriend at the time and his friend. And so I had to wait outside in the car, and I just saw how they brought them out. They closed down the whole block, and they just went in there and they destroyed everything. I mean, I wasn't there, but I saw it afterwards on pictures. They even took my dog, which is sad, but yeah, I couldn't do much about it. So they drove me down to the DA headquarters on 17th and 10th Avenue, and so of course the questioning started. And since the people that were in my house didn't have to do anything with it, with my situation, I just took all the charges from them on mine. I already got charged with it anyway. I was already in a situation that was like pretty bad, and it was my apartment. So yeah, I got booked basically there. When I got booked, I really went over the whole thing over and over again in my head, like what went wrong, because the people I would sell to, those are either my clients or my girls, and this was the only person outside of that I made this sale to, and I only did it as a favor, because it wasn't my thing to make money with drugs. It was always just the girls. And so then I was thinking, the guy that got arrested with me it was all a little bit weird. The whole setup was weird. Then when I went the first time to court, I don't even have a co-defendant. Now if you get arrested together in any situation, that is your co-defendant, unless that's a snitch or the undercover cop. And he came out, he's an undercover cop. And let's say now Uncle Paulie, Paul Offord, wouldn't be a snitch or wouldn't be the informant. He would have been implicated as for conspiracy. He would have gone down for conspiracy, which never happened. The way he acted after I got arrested, actually my man went to go see him and told him about the arrest. Instead of being concerned about me, his sister, when he set that whole thing up for himself, he was like, well, things like that happen. You know, if you go and want to go sell drugs, that's gonna happen to you. If you set it up for me, though, you shouldn't be acting that way. And on top of that, he said, well, I have a new deal coming in. I'm doing some deal with crystal meth with some Russians from LA, and you can be part of it. He offered that to my man, who just walked out of the feds, and the feds were watching him. No one in his right mind would actually even offer that. Because they would just know, okay, this is way too hot. I'm not going to get involved in this if the situation is hot. Unless, again, you're an informant or you're a snitch and you know you're going to be good. I don't know exactly what the situation was, why he did all of this, or what he got charged for, why he had to snitch. But me and him never did a business with the drugs. So why do you ask me for a favor and I'm going to go down for that? Like, that's something you just don't do. When I finally had hired my lawyers, they looked into the whole case, and there was a lot of things that went wrong. So this is why it's very important to hire your own lawyers. They had no warrant from a house that was raided, so all of those charges had to get dropped. And they told me there was definitely an informant, and I would know the person very well. So they said, you can just think about it. Like, it's very easy to just who introduced you to who, and this guy who introduced you to the guy you sold to, that is the informant. But now they said don't focus on that because it really doesn't do anything for you. You need to figure out how to get out of the situation. And they even said, like, you definitely have to get your mindset right because you're gonna do some time. There's no way around that. The Russians that Paul Ford actually introduced me to, they ordered some girls, and they wanted, they wanted some girls, which I supplied them with. And even the girls said they were really weird. But the crazy part about it is there was a big drug bust with the Russians. And again, Uncle Paulie was involved in that. That was after my arrest. So several people came up to me and even said, oh, he's a snitch, like people know already about it. I don't really believe what just people come and tell me, but it's been confirmed several times, and I can confirm that as well. I met Eric Williams when I went on a trip to Miami. I was there with a few very beautiful girls, and one of them caught his eye. And they started talking to each other, and so we all in a group, like, basically started hanging out at the pool and were partying together. And he was a really cool guy. Now, he started dating my friend, and I didn't know he was married at the time, because he didn't act like a married man. I mean, I really literally saw it on VH1 Basketball Wives. He stopped dating my friend, and then everything kind of went weird in a weird way. And he just disappeared. Then he came back out, and then he's like, oh, yeah, we're gonna meet up. Then we actually met. And I just said, listen, I need these documents. I made this investment, and I need to have the paperwork right. He promised me several times this will happen and whatever. After, I think, almost a year, I actually looked into it because I was like, something is not right. And that insurance is dissolved, like it just, the whole thing, he closed it down and he left with the whole money. So it's an absolute scam artist. Like a 40-plus-year-old man has to take the money off a 21-year-old or 22-year-old girl. It's like a low level to me. You have to go and scam around. He claims to be broke. Then he went through his divorce. It was so many lies that went around there and ended up with the whole money. Because I know for a fact he has money. He asked me about Swiss bank accounts. He asked me about different ways. I actually did hook him up with a guy that has more knowledge than that than I do, because Swiss banks or Swiss situation with Americans is really difficult at the time. Like, it's not really worth it. So yeah, he's just a scammer. I mean, why would not go around and steal money from people and just, you know, lie to them and call them sis or whatever? It's very low level, definitely. I never suspected anything with the police prior to my big case, since I was really on point when it came to the girls. I mean, when it came to my escort business, I was on point, but the drugs was definitely that what messed me up. My experience with the police in the States before I got arrested, to be honest, I was really ignorant to the whole thing because I never got arrested. I never had any police problems in that sense. And yeah, I didn't really see anything bad. Now, when I got arrested, when I basically became an inmate, a lot of things changes. Now you're a foreigner, you're an inmate, you do get mistreated, there is definitely excessive force. And not even just for me, like I saw so many different people get abused in there, and just the police, the way they handle their business is definitely wrong. A lot of wrong things happening, especially to women. Women in prison, they don't have a lot of rights. They don't really do strikes, or not a lot of them. There's more like men, they would just go on a strike and all stick together. Women are not really that type of people. And definitely a lot of racism in there, as well against blacks as well as against whites, as against everything. Now, if you're a foreigner, they don't really know where to put you in there, but they know that you don't really have family there, and they will definitely take advantage of that. I have to say now, since I got arrested, I'm very aware what's happening. And I really want to, like, if I can do anything to change that situation or bring awareness to it, I'm definitely down for it. I mean, the Khalif Browder story was very touching for me. Rikers Island is a hellhole, absolutely. And what they do to especially young people in there as well, or even people that have very small cases, minor things, mistakes they made, that's not even that bad. They just get punished way too much, and they come out and just have mental issues, or they can't get out of that anymore. What I definitely saw is if you cannot afford a lawyer, you're in a bad situation. Now, of course, it depends on your case. But let's say I wouldn't have a lawyer and they wouldn't see all the mistakes that the police made by my arrest, I would have done a lot more years. And most people don't have the money to afford a lawyer. I mean, my money was taken by the feds anyway, by the arrest, like all my money. But I have money everywhere, somewhere, in businesses, in Switzerland, in insurances, in other places, and that's why I was able to afford these lawyers. But for people who can't afford a lawyer, now they just have to do more time. It's an unfair process. It's an unfair punishment, and it's just unfair trials. And especially even just when you don't have a lawyer that's paid, you're just going to be waiting and waiting and waiting in Rikers Island until you can go to the court and actually discuss your case, especially for small things. It's just really, it's unnecessary. My man at the time got me the lawyers. They were recommended to me, my lawyer team, which they did a great job in a lot of things. But in the end, it was definitely my connections or people that I knew that put in a good word for me. Unfortunately, it's like that if you know people or you have money for good lawyers, you just do less time or you get a better deal. I never snitched. Like, I was in this situation, I was so hurt by it that he did that to me. I would never do that to somebody. So to snitch on somebody, not an option. And actually my lawyers advised me to really speak or say something. And the only thing that I did say is I implicated myself, like basically about my escort business. I did tell them about it, the way I did it, and that's why I got a little bit less of a sentence. I think they made me, of course I have made a lot of money with these girls, but I never did anything to the girls. So there was no minors, there was no girls who had to work for me, there wasn't girls that I was taking their money. And I think all of those things they actually wanted to implicate on me, which wasn't true. And even Vice, who came to actually speak to me, Vice is a unit for prostitution circles. They said, we don't really see you being, malicious or have underage girls working for you or do any kind of human trafficking, which was never the case. every girl can come and go as they please, and we make money together, and that's it. A lot of the felonies I got accused of were absolutely untrue, but that's what they're trying to do. They try to give you as many charges as they can so they can take as much money as they want and put you in as much time as they can in prison, so they can make some more money off you. The felonies I got accused of, in the end, so many of them got dropped because it was really over the top. Again, the lawyer team was great, and my connections, that's basically how I ended up with this sentence that I had, 4 years, and after 2 years you can deport yourself because of the Switzerland and American agreement that they have if it's a non-violent crime, which my crime was non-violent. So I definitely took that offer. Instead of going to trial, and definitely blew it. I would have definitely lost that one. I mean, they knew what I was pretty much doing, but not the drugs. They just knew about the girls, and since it's legal in Switzerland, they didn't really thought about it, how it is over there. They knew that that wasn't my big plan. My big plan was to make money with the escort, invest in new businesses, which I did, and just start. It's basically startup money. That's what it was. But when you kind of get caught up in that, you have bills to pay, you have a lifestyle you live, you have to look right, you have to live at the right area, and the cost, because the apartments that I've rented, they cost a lot of money, security, drivers, everything costs money. So they were disappointed. Now my dad had, he went to jail before, my dad, so he couldn't say much about that, but again, I'm his daughter, so he doesn't want that from me, of course. And they just were really frustrated because they can't really do much for you. They just can't, and they don't speak English. They can't go to the States. My dad couldn't leave at that time because he was in a so-called parole situation. But yeah, my sister helped me a lot, and her husband, and of course just friends. They're trying to like help in whatever they can. I mean, my thoughts when I got arrested, I just couldn't understand how this could happen to me, which sounds really naive, extremely naive. But I just, of course I did illegal things, but I didn't do no malicious things to no one. And I was always fair about business. And if you mess up, you have to, the karma is gonna come, or the way I react is gonna happen. But the way Uncle Paulie did this, yeah, I sold the drugs, and yeah, I paid for it, and I take full responsibility for that. Absolutely, that was my mistake, and I paid for it, not an issue. But to set somebody up, I just didn't understand even why somebody would do that. And I think even the law to, you are a criminal, you get caught with something, you should do your time. Like the only countries that actually support it is Somalia and the USA. They have this law that you can go and snitch on somebody else and you're not gonna go and do time. I think that just shows people to, okay, even if you mess up, you can just go and set the next person up and then you're good. That's just a horrible way of dealing with this. I mean, even that law is just, of course, that's how the feds or the police wanna get more information on the next person. But in a lot of ways, it doesn't make sense. And just an example is the whole murder case with Tupac and Biggie. When Keefe D goes and actually tells on how this whole thing happened, he walks free, but nobody else gets implicated because they can't. Did they have me around other inmates? In the beginning, not. First, when you get arrested, I mean, I came from the feds. I stayed with them for a little bit. And then when they realized I wouldn't be talking, I would not cooperate, they actually turned me over to the state and they just prosecute me from there. When I first came to Rikers Island, I was in a single cell, and then they put me into the program cells, into the program. It's not a cell, it's like a whole unit. So people with drug charges especially are gonna go there because I was non-violent. What problems I had with other inmates? Well, I mean, there's always problems that can happen. I'm definitely not somebody that starts anything. I'm not somebody that starts to fight or stuff, but I definitely would defend myself, and I will not have nobody coming with any kind of bullshit to me. Now, I'm 5'2", about 115 pounds. At that time, was even skinnier, and I'm a foreigner. So I definitely was a target for a lot of these girls. I mean, in the beginning, definitely you have to fight a little bit. I mean, even or just say something back. You can't have no one take nothing from you. And I definitely wouldn't have that either. Or even somebody will come to you with a bad attitude. It will come back on my side. And again, we're all in a situation where we are stressed out, especially right, because you don't know what's happening. You're not sentenced yet. I was looking at a lot of time. I mean, my first offer was 15 years. The second was 8 after they had to drop a bunch of charges. And I was stuck there with 8 years. And there's girls who are there for 2-3 weeks. They want to fight or whatever. Then, I'm definitely going to give it to you, because you're going to have to stay longer if you mess up. Not the way of how I deal with stuff, but I wasn't in the frame of mind. I wasn't afraid. I wasn't like, oh, I can't fight. Even if I lose, I still will go and fight you if you come a certain way to me. And you have to. If somebody takes something from you, you have to stand your grounds, or they will always bully you. Now, the whole race issue in jail is unfortunately very sad. It's there. To me, I'm not a racist at all at any time. I'm okay with everyone. I'm cool with everyone, unless you just not a person I want to be around, then that's that. But that's your character. And I was cool with everyone. I was hanging out with everyone. But the race issue always kind of get pulled, the race cards, with officers as well with inmates. So if you have like even a black officer and there is a race issue, they definitely will go against you. It's kind of sad, because even I lived in Europe, I lived in the States. The most racist place I ever seen is the States, which they are former foreigners, right? All of them are former foreigners, and they have the biggest issues when it comes to race. Of course, there's racism in Europe, there's racism everywhere. But in the States, it's like the worst place. It always is the first thing they go to. And it's sad, because I have a lot of amazing black friends, Hispanic friends, white friends, whatever. And really, race shouldn't be an issue at any times. I didn't get hurt in jail. Of course, a scratch here and there, but nothing like really serious. I had an issue with one particular security guard, since he had the feeling he needs to talk to me about private life, and I just don't have to answer you. And I was shackled, I was waiting in medical. That was at Bedford Hills Correction Facility. And he just had to push me off the bench, because I did not give him the answers that he wanted to hear. Basically, I just didn't say anything. I don't need to answer you private questions about my life or private life. If you have a question about my stay, of course I will answer you. But at the end of the day, I'm not here to meet you or talk to you or be friends with you or be friendly. You're there to do a job, and I'm there to do my time. And that just should be at that. And he just came after me. He always said, I will cut your face. I will get you. He always would be coming around my unit. And then at one time it escalated, where I got moved to a different prison. Obviously, they knew he has mental issues. I mean, if a stranger, a man, has to come to you and say, oh, I want to cut your face, I will cut your face open. And you work in a facility like Bedford Hills Correction, and they're aware of that, they're just going to move you. So it's a whole big story. I mean, most of these COs, they are ex-soldiers or police officers or whatever. And some of them, they are just doing their jobs over there. They're actually really cool, no problems. But some of them, they have really mental issues, and especially when it comes to authority. I respect them as what they do over there, but you don't have to come and be extra. You don't, even some female officers, that just feel like, oh, you're skinny, or you're small, or you're short, or whatever, or you're a foreigner, and I'm just a fat chick, big boned, and now I just have to go after you. And it's really sad the way they handle their ways, because I'm very respectful. I always give the respect back. And I don't need nobody to take advantage. And there was definitely a lot of stuff happening that was wrong in female facilities. How male COs would beat up a girl that's like my height and size just because she asked not to be called a bitch. They just beat her up really, really bad. And the bigger issue is that everybody watches it, and nobody does anything about it. Nobody says anything about it, So a lot of violence going on, especially against females, and it definitely will just, get them messed up in the future mentally. Now, I'm a very strong-minded person, and it did not get mess me up. But even after I finished my sentence, I finished my time in prison, it took me like a month to get back to be just normal, to like understand, okay, the cell phone, how does the new cell phone work now? Because a lot of things been happening since then. Or just go back to work, be outside or be free, or just, you know, go outside and be able to do whatever you want to do. And definitely just being paranoid from the police. Like, even you're not doing anything wrong, every time you see a police car, you be a little paranoid in the beginning. And I just worked hard to get back to where I was. I mean, I got deported in 2014. Now, 4 years later, this is my own club. I opened this 2 years ago, legally. And from there, I opened an escort service, a concierge service. The concierge service caters to a high-end clientele. It's a members club where you can actually tell me your desire, your wish. And as long as you go by the disclaimer, because we have a few things that you cannot ask for, you know, I will try to get everything, whatever you desire to get that done. As well, I'm a headhunter now. For like finance, especially banking, finance, private equity, investments, yeah, I really like where I came so far because it made me just stronger. The whole prison experience made me stronger, and I know that whatever happens to me in the future, it can't get any worse than Rikers Island or Bedford Hills, and I learned from my mistakes. And I think illegal money will always somehow be a karma there, if it's sooner or later. I have never heard of like a really successful story where nothing happened in the future. So I learned from this experience a lot, that I will handle my business absolutely legally. And I definitely want to encourage people who went through a situation, take the advantage of it, how strong you are. Now, the other thing as well is I'm not in the States. Of course, I got deported. I was not on parole over here. It's a different way of here how they do it. They actually support you. They will, you have to do like a mental checkup with the psychologist, and then they will actually help you to get a job. In the States, it's the opposite. They don't want you to get a job. They want to put you on a so-called house arrest, like parole. You can't leave in the night, you can't do this, you can't do that. You can only have a minimum wage job, but you gotta do programs all week long. It doesn't make no sense. Like, the system is set up for you to fail over and over again, to go back to prison. And it's sad. And I think something there definitely has to change, because it just costs money. It's just tax money again, or whatever money they can spend on that. And nobody actually wants to give them a good job. Now you have 10 people who apply for a job, and 2 of them are felons, or they just still on parole. Most people don't hire them. And I think there should be a program that they really hire specifically felons. Now, probably not child molesters or rapists. I mean, I wouldn't hire them, but I just would try to give them maybe mental institution help, or, you know, some kind of help like that. But people who had a DUI or were selling a little bit of drugs before, and so what? Maybe they're just good salespeople, and they just have to be motivated in a different way to do their skills, to do something legally with their skills. But if you set them up to not make money, to not take care of their families, to not be able to take care of their kids or just themselves, they will go back into do criminal activities and make money that way. And just the program in itself. We all had to do ASAC and whatever, like all these drug programs in prison, and now you have to come out and do it again. Even I had to do anger management classes, which my case is not even violent. So all these things are just a waste of time. And if I would have been on parole in the States, I probably wouldn't be here where I am right now. Yeah, and it's just in the States, like, you always have to be scared, oh, I'm getting arrested again, oh, when I have a felony, my life is over. And it's sad, because most felonies are really, you know, especially DWI or DUI, it happens. It's not good, but it happens. And that the person doesn't have to, like, fail their whole life because of something like that. The day I came back to Switzerland, the whole process is, if you finish your time, immigration, ICE will pick you up, and you go to an absolute disgusting facility that I have never even seen something like that. I mean, even the whole South African confinement is nothing compared to that. And by the law, they can hold you for 2 years there until your country is basically taking you back or your family buys you a ticket. So the whole process is a very long time. So especially now when you look into like Hispanics or especially Mexicans, they just stay there, they didn't even maybe have a case or whatever. They just have to wait there, and you have a small cell where you have birds and rats and all this, cockroaches there. The food is like once or twice a day. It's disgusting. You can't leave your cell. Just a half an hour a day, you can walk in front of your cell, just back and forth, or take a shower. And the shower is just not really a shower. And there's no phones. If you scream or whatever, nothing really happens. I mean, there was people next to me, they scream all day. It was horrible. I have never seen something like this. And the USA is not a third world country that actually has a situation like that. I don't even think any third world country, any country, has a facility like this. It's not acceptable. The way they treat people, it's not humans. It's not even like animals. I was very fortunate that my dad knows one of the presidents in Switzerland. We have like 8 of them. It's a complete different system than the States. And they actually arranged for me to leave there pretty soon. So I was only there for a few days, or like a week. I didn't know exactly when I leave, because nobody will know. They would just come and pick you up and bring you to the airport. You go through the whole system. They will take picture of your eyes, and your DNA, your hair, everything will be done. So you cannot come back. I mean, I cannot go back to the States for at least, I think, 20 plus years. And if I want to, or if I have to go through a lot of stuff. I don't think I want to. And I actually love the States. When I was there, I had a great time. I just don't want to go back and go back into a situation and I have to fear for every little thing I do, or just walk around and there's a police contact. Now you have to go back to jail. That's something that's sad about the States. It's not, it's not fun when you were once in that situation. And I understand people who were in that situation who are scared now to actually even live, just because of the police, and especially how the way they be treating people and do excessive force and just arresting people for no reason. But anyway, when I got deported, I landed at 9 a.m. And then the police picked me up from the airplane. I had to do the fingerprints over here, and yeah, they just let me go. So my dad picked me up, and my sister got married at 11 a.m. So I was there in church, looking a little crazy because it was skinny as hell. I didn't see no sunlight for a very long time. But I did get my hair done. And it was a beautiful day for my sister. As well, which was weird, is my body was used to old food. Means like the food that we had in prison mostly was old, and my body got used to it. So now the fresh food that I had over here just got me sick for like at least a month. You had to get back and used to that. Yeah, but it was a nice day. My sister, she had a beautiful wedding, and I saw my whole family there, which was great. Where do I see myself in 5 years? Well, I work on a lot of different businesses. Some of them are successful, some of them might not be. And I just want money to constantly come in and be successful with that. And when I want to work, I work, but I don't have to. That's the goal. Definitely want to have kids, preferably boys. And maybe get married. I mean, who knows? It's just I'm 30 years old now. I have done a lot of stuff in my life, made good and bad experiences, and I learned from it a lot. So I like where I'm at in my life right now. And I decided to tell my story. Was actually a friend of mine. She told me, oh, you gotta write a book about your story. That's crazy. Like, people have to know the story, because I had so much fun. I saw the nice side of the States, the nice side of life, and then just the complete opposite. And I told her, listen, I don't want to tell my story right now, because I don't know, people will know everything about me. That I was in jail, I was in prison. I'm not really proud of that specifically. And I said, maybe when I'm 50 years old. And she said, well, but when you're 50, people cannot relate. They don't know who this person was who snitched on you. They don't know how the whole situation was back then. So you gotta tell it now. So I actually decided to make that step and to write this book. And I'm actually glad I did. So I hope to be continuing with more details of my story.